I am thrilled to introduce Dr. Michael Drake as our commencement speaker. Dr. Drake is the esteemed Chancellor of the University of California at Irvine, which has more than 28,000 undergraduate and graduate students, 1,100 faculty, and 9,400 staff. In 2012, nearly 70,000 hopeful students applied for undergraduate admissions to UC Irvine, including many of whom are transferring from Saddleback College. Since his appointment in 2005, Chancellor Drake has led the launch of new programs in public health, pharmaceutical sciences, and nursing science. He oversaw the creation of the first new public law school in California in more than 40 years, and in 2012, the UC Irvine School of Education was established. Prior to his arrival at UC Irvine, Chancellor Drake served 5 years as Vice President for Health Affairs for the University of California system, overseeing academic program policy at the University of California's 15 health sciences schools. He directed the special research programs in tobacco, breast cancer, and HIV/AIDS, co-chaired the California-Mexico Health Initiative, launched the PRIME initiative to train physicians to care for underserved populations statewide, and founded the California Health Benefits Review Program. Previously, he spent more than 2 decades on the faculty of the UC San Francisco School of Medicine, ultimately becoming the Stephen P. Shearing Professor of Ophthalmology and Senior Associate Dean. He has served as an administrative leader, physician scientist, and teacher, conducting clinical research on glaucoma and maintaining an active referral practice. He has written scores of scholarly articles and chapters, and his 5th textbook was published in 2009. Chancellor Drake has earned numerous awards and honors for teaching, public service, and research, and was most recently awarded the inaugural Binational Health Pioneer Award at the 18th International HIV/AIDS Conference. He has served as trustee and president of the Alpha Omega Alpha Honors Medical Society and as chair of the Board of Trustees of the Association of Academic Health Centers. He is a fellow of the Institute of Medicine in the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Today, to properly honor Chancellor Drake for his outstanding record of service to higher education and medicine, I'm pleased to present him with an honorary degree from Saddleback College. Dr. Drake, would you please come forward? Our faculty and administration, the South Orange County Community College District Board of Trustees, and Chancellor Portner, it is my absolute pleasure to present to you this honorary associate degree in the health sciences for your long and distinguished career and tireless efforts for California's community colleges. Thank you.
I thought I just collected the degree. No, I knew there was more. Thank you very, very much, President. It was a wonderful honor to be able to come here and spend this morning with you and to then join the class as a graduate as well. It's a nice treat. Before we get started, something I'd like to do, just to get a little business out of the way. Could everyone just hold their hands up? Families and guests, as well as students, just hold your hands like this for me, if you would, for just a moment. That's great. Can you wiggle them a little bit like this? Great. I know when I get home this evening, my wife will ask me how today went, and I'll say it went great, and I shook the hands of every student and family member in the whole place. It was a great moment. I want to get the work out of the way. These are wonderful, wonderful opportunities, and I appreciate the chance to be here. One of the great pleasures in my line of work is being able to come to graduations and see the very proud students who have reached this milestone in their lives. And also, in particular, to see the great love and joy coming from the audience, the families and supporters and loved ones and children who really have paved the pathway forward. And so there's a great energy here today, and it's wonderful to be a part of this. It's also wonderful to be here at Saddleback. We've had a nice 40-plus year relationship between our institutions. The University of California, Irvine opened its doors to students in 1965, Saddleback College just a couple of years later. And then we've been great partners ever since in this great thing called the California Master Plan for Higher Education. In thinking about this day and what I might say that's useful, there are thousands of graduation speeches that go on around the country each year. And I remember the first one that I went to for my older brother many, many years ago, and then subsequent ones for him and for others, and then times I participated. And one of the things that I remember beyond that is that there's very little that you remember from the day beyond the fact that you were there. So I have something I'd like to share toward the end, but I want to think a little bit about this time. If we think about the last few years, some of you have been here for 2 years, some for a little bit longer. One of the great things about our community college system is that there are opportunities to enter and re-enter at different phases in life. We have a great span of ages among the people who are graduating. And actually looking at the young lady who's 18, I believe the 18, I'm afraid I don't believe you heard your age, young lady. But this last 4 or 5 years have been a really challenging time for our nation and for the world. We've been through the worst economic crisis that any of us have seen, the worst that the country has seen for 80 years. So there's been a great deal of pressure on all of us. But now the country seems to be reawakening. Just recently now, in the last bit, unemployment is down by about a third. Housing starts are moving up, and that market seems to be recovering. 4 years ago, we were embroiled deeply in 2 wars. Now, one of those has stopped, and the other is winding down dramatically. One of the things that's a great pleasure for us at our institution, and was a great pleasure here this morning, was to be able to offer opportunity to our returning veterans to, after serving and protecting our country, come back and be able to join our workforce as leaders in our communities. Other things have changed dramatically as well, and these things are changing so rapidly it's hard even to keep up with it. One thing that's fascinating for me to think about is cell phones. I was traveling a few years ago. We were in China, and there was a guy who helped us with English in the car, and we were driving along, he turned around and he said, in the US, our cell phones used mostly for talking or for texting. And I thought, well, how quaint and cute. Of course they're used for talking. What else would you use a telephone for? I didn't say how quaint and how cute. But they're of course they're used for talking. And that was in 2007, and that was true. About 2010, 11, the number of text messages equaled the number of voice messages or voice conversations on telephones. And now text messaging contacts exceed voice contacts by 5 to 1. For many, many years, the landline was the predominant form of telephone connection for people. And then about 2 years ago, cell phones exceeded landlines in their numbers. And now there are about 5 times as many cell lines as there are landlines. So just amazingly rapid change. And one of the things that amazingly rapid change has allowed is more and more people are connected. Now about 4 billion people around the world are connected, an unfathomable number 5 years ago. People in all walks of life and all around the world. There was about the time that this college was founded, about the time that I was beginning college, there was a song out, kind of a proto-rap song, and it had the line in it, the revolution will not be televised. Some of the olders may remember that. But the revolution will not be televised, and the concept of that was that this was kind of an anti-corporate anthem, and the idea is that the corporate sponsorship that controlled the airwaves was not going to be the place where change came from in the world, because the corporate leaders of the world don't tend to be the ones that change things much. And that was certainly true 40 or 50 years ago when this song came out, and made perfect sense to us. 2 years ago, in watching the Arab Spring unfold, and realizing the important role of media and social media and connections, and actually the little televisions that were in the pockets of all the people there, it turned out that the revolution was in fact televised. In fact, it began on and spread through television, but of a completely different kind that was thought about in the 1960s when there were 3 channels and only the big corporations. So this change in connectivity has been really amazing for convenience and other things, but also has changed the political history of the world. Another change that's happened very dramatically, I'd say, in the past 4 or 5 years is and this really is a change that we see very much in younger people in this country. I think is a harbinger of the things that are to come, is the acceptance of people from different backgrounds and different walks of life, and how much more accepting this generation is than generations previous to this time. As was mentioned, a lot of my career worked with people who were dealing with and doing research on HIV/AIDS as one of our sidelights. And just to think of the last 3 to 4 years, the opinions of the American public, the acceptance in the American public of members of our community that are in the LGBT community has changed dramatically. And this is a change that 10 years ago, the public opinion was in one place. Well, I'll accept applause. By the way, you can applaud anything I say at any side. But to think about this, we think 10 years ago, the level of acceptance that there was and the level of stigma, or 20 or 30 years ago when we first started doing this work, difference between that and 5 years ago, and the difference between 5 years ago and today. There have been rapid changes in social attitudes and acceptance, and these are really things that emanate from the people who are graduating today. This change can and will be driven by changes in technology, changes in things that are available to us, things that we can do that we couldn't do before. But there will also be real changes that are changes of the heart. People have adopted new attitudes. You've been connected, for many of you, since birth, and the concepts of Facebook and Twitter and all the other ways that we're connected and the rapid flow of information means that you have to be even more adaptable to change than anyone was before. But your thriving new world does not really depend so much on the technological aspects of that change, but rather your acceptance of old values. Your success as a person, your success as a professional, your success as a husband or mother or father or partner will really depend on your values and the values that you use to live your life. It's the way that you live your life that will lead to the quality of life that you have. We have values that we share with our students, and we share them on multiple occasions, particularly when they arrive with us at the beginning and when they leave at graduation. That we have 7 values that we at UC Irvine champion. And let me say, I'll read the 7 values to you. All of us have the privilege of being able to determine our own values, but I'll read the ones that we use and say that the important thing about our values is that we live by our values and we use them to guide us, particularly when we're in uncharted waters. Our values are respect, and that's respect for yourself as well as respect for others. Intellectual curiosity, the interest in learning and teaching, the interest in new things. We value commitment, the passion that it takes to really do your very best at everything that you do. We value integrity, the importance of saying what you mean and meaning what you say, the importance of developing yourself into a trusting person and a person who is trusted. We value empathy, having concern for the condition of others, and also we value appreciation, meaning appreciating the circumstances that other people come from, why someone might have a different point of view than we do. And finally, we value fun. This is our life, and we want to make sure that we live our life in a fun way. And if you think about that, if you think of someone who you care about and respect and love, and you think about how that person lines up on the values, are they a respectful person? Do they care about learning and knowledge? Are they someone who's really committed to what they're doing? Are they someone who can be trusted? Do they have empathy for other people? Do they appreciate the broad diversity in the world? Are they always up for having a good time? And you'll describe a wonderful person who's surrounded by people who love and care for him or her and who has a great life. And these are values that you and we ourselves can all live. One of my great mentors was talking to me once about the game of golf, and he said, you know, you can't necessarily play a perfect round of golf, but you can play a perfectly honest round of golf every time. And I think if we try to do our very best at being the best people we can in every one of our days, we will find that our lives have great value and add great value to the world as we go forward. Today I get to join the class in receiving a degree, and I again appreciate that very much. Appreciate that very much, thank you. A couple of weeks ago I was like the parents, one of our sons was getting a degree, and this was a college in the East, and one of the other parents in the audience was another Southern Californian I shared a little with, besides that was Denzel Washington, so another Southern California, and he had been the commencement speaker at this college a couple of years ago, and something he said was quoted by the president at this time, and I'll share that with you. And what he said in his speech is that you've never seen a U-Haul trailer in back of a hearse. And what it means essentially is you can't take it with you. What you leave behind are the people who you affected, the people you're connected with, the people who loved you and who know who you are. And that's really the people who you need to think about every day, what you need to think about as you're moving your life forward. The nice thing about this is it's something that you can control. It has no cost and it's fully guaranteed. All it takes is your commitment and your focus, and I know that you all can do it. I said that I wanted to leave you with something of some value, so let me say something that I hope will be of some value to some members of the audience, and maybe 2 or 5 or 10, but something that I hope that some of you can remember. And that's just a name, and the name is Rabindranath Tagore, and I'll just say the last name, which is the important part to remember. That's Tagore, T-A-G-O-R-E. Tagore is an Indian poet who lived about 100 years ago. He was born in the 1860s and died in 1940, and he's the most celebrated poet in modern Indian history. This is 2013. In 1913, he won the Nobel Prize for Literature, the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. And I thought that in honor of that, I would share a poem of his that I think is meaningful and apropos to today and today's celebration. Let me say also that I will read it twice. Poets have this amazing ability to pack incredible meaning into just a few words. So I'll read through it twice. It's short. I'll read through it twice to give us a chance. He wrote at a time when his country was struggling under the yoke of colonialism, by the way. But we're thinking of also the future and what the future means to all of us. And so let me now share Tagore's words. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, let me awake. So I'll read it once again. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward into ever-widening action, into that heaven of freedom, let me awake. And as you awake tomorrow into that heaven of freedom that Tagore dreamed of and that this country exemplifies, armed with your new education and the knowledge that you can change the world, let me say that we look forward to sharing the future with you, that your character and leadership will define us and shape that future. Congratulations to all of you for your great achievements. Thank you so very much.